Here, I thought I had a guest. I don't have a guest. Um, so I'm just going to go live and hope you all find me on the channel. Give me 1 second. There we go. Anyways, happy Friday. It's Coach Lori here in Capitola, California. First time I'm home on a Friday in a month. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm really happy to be back. I had my coaching gig in Mallorca, which was super fun. And then last week I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is part of the Bentonville, Fayetteville. Awesome place to ride a bike and mountain biking. It is apparently the hottest mountain bike spot in the world. And Fayetteville is an amazing little town. 35 miles of paved multi-use trails in the city. And I was able to ride a bunch of them, doing some warm-ups and everything. I was there for UCI, which is Union Cycliste International, the International Cycling Union, world qualifier for Gravel Worlds, which will be held in the Netherlands in October. I was hoping to nab a spot at Worlds, and unfortunately I didn't. It was a little bit of a disappointing race, and I realized my power is really good, and I hadn't done any race-specific training, specificity of training. We train for what we want to do, and I had told myself I would never do another event if I hadn't trained specifically for it. I had a pretty miserable experience at Hincapi. Hi, Amy, you found me about a year and a half ago because I hadn't trained for it, and I said I'd never do that again. But here I was after riding around Mallorca for, 3 weeks, eating cake and just climbing lots of mountains, and came to this really punchy mountain bike type gravel course where it literally was up and down and up and down and up and down. There was no flat at all. And it was super hard. 53 miles, 5,600 feet of climbing. That's a big ratio of climbing to mileage. And it's kind of like taking a test you didn't study for when you show up to a race that you hadn't trained for. So, yeah, it was the best trip ever. They were great trips. I'm super happy to be home. So, anyways, I am home. I am refocused on my goal for about 4 hours. I was really sad and thinking about selling all my bikes and finding a new hobby. And on Sunday, I sent Coach Brian Hammond a text and said, hey, I need a pep talk. And we had a great chat and have some new goals and some new focus, and that's awesome. And Brian also had a disappointing race last weekend, so at some point we will share our stories about that. But anyways, good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Maggie. Amy, thanks for letting folks know that I had to pivot here. I wasn't sure what would happen. I thought I had a guest, and then I didn't have a guest. And I set this up with a guest, and it wouldn't let me go live alone. So we just pivoted a little bit. So anyways, here I am. I'm back. I'm refocused on my training. Got back in the gym. Guy, I have a couple comments for you and your question about that. Hi, Jeff. Oh no, race is canceled. That doesn't happen. They're supposed to just become more epic. But anyways, I want to take a minute. Here we are going into our final weekend of training, and I just want to give a shout out to our group leads. Maggie is on the call today, as is Amy. And then we also have Brent, who has picked up the lead in one of our groups, and Will Jolly, who has some life stuff going on, but started the challenge with us, and hopefully will be back as a lead again. And then also Matthew Welch, who is not here today because he has, a job and he's doing the job thing. But I want to thank you all for all you've been doing the last 8 weeks and beyond. And then also, congratulations to everybody on Pelafondo last weekend. I was very happy to see some comments in the chats about, wow, this is too much for me. And I made this goal of X number of miles, and I think I'm going to be okay with only doing this many miles. So again, don't show up for the test you didn't study for. It's never a good situation. It's okay. I'm going to make a t-shirt actually that says, more is not better. More is just more. I've decided I should make a t-shirt for Team Wilpers or for me. Anyways, and Maggie, thank you for coordinating Pelafondo again, and putting together those beautiful graphics for everybody. And yeah, let's talk about wrapping up this challenge. It's weird to talk to yourself, but I guess I'm okay with it. We're ending with an overload week. So what does that mean? And it's really interesting because I see a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And snow, what? Jeff is telling us that it snowed and his race was canceled. And, was it a gravel race? Mountain bike race? It should go on in the snow. A foot of snow is nothing. Wait a minute. What race was this? Anyways, I'm going to go on so I could talk to Jeff about his race. Back to the challenge. So preseason cycling challenge. We ended with an overload week. It was interesting because not a lot of intensity, but a lot of volume this week. And so what's coming up? You have a 2-week break from challenges. And I would say, think of it this way: rest and test. So we're going to take 1 week. You're going to rest. You're not going to throw in every class in the world that you wanted to take. You're not going to jump in and do another challenge. Take a week of rest. It doesn't mean doing nothing, but it means don't have a lot of structure. Don't fatigue yourself. Allow your body to soak in all the fitness that you just built. Because if you don't, supercompensation doesn't happen. And that's the goal when we overload like this, when we do all of this intensity and then we do this big block of endurance. What happens? You're going to build a lot of fitness if you rest. So take this first week, make it a little easier, but keep your legs moving. If you normally ride 3 days a week, ride 3 days a week, but keep it easier. If you ride 4 days a week, or 5 or 6 or 7, don't ride 7. But keep it a little easier this week. Keep your volume down, keep your intensity a little bit up for some of your rides, but not all of them. So keep it easy, rest for the first week. Then test. This is a perfect time to do an FTP test because I know how much you all love doing your FTP tests, right? Who doesn't love an FTP test? There is, in the all access programs, there is a 1-week bridge plan to take the test. So it's a prep and a test. And I would say pull that up and make that your second week or something like it. So you can go in and get a really good test result because we're going to have some more intensity coming up in our next challenge. And we want to have accurate zones. Accurate training zones will make a big difference here. So Maggie, I'm excited about the upcoming climb challenge too. So we'll talk about that. Anyways, supercompensation happens, but only if you take it easy. So we want you to take it easy this first week. Rest and test. Repeat after me. Rest and test. Not rest and rest. Don't sit on the couch for 2 weeks. Not test and test. You don't need to go hard. Just rest and test. So segue into the climb challenge. Good morning, Kristen. 6 weeks. So we had the question this morning. How long is this challenge? 6 weeks. This one's going to be 6. We also have a sprint challenge coming up. It's going to be a 6-week challenge too. And we're going to focus on VO2 max. So we're going to increase VO2 max and do a lot of training in those higher zones, but also on climbing strength. So you'll see some different cadences. Someone had asked about that how do we incorporate? I don't know who asked this question because it came in anonymously. So how do we incorporate cadence? There will be cadence work in this. And why is cadence important? Both high cadence and low cadence. For those of you who ride outside, I think especially high cadence work is going to be important because we want to be able to turn our legs over quickly. And that helps a lot with the transition to outside riding, which some of you are just making now. Some of us get to ride outside year round. Some of you don't. Some of you are just getting on the outside bike. So I would say high cadence work works well for that. Low cadence work is going to give you a lot more flexibility in your riding, right? Especially, how many of you ride gravel? I know a few of you do. In gravel, we have big skips in our gearing. So it's kind of like going from first gear to fifth gear or first gear to fourth gear. And being able to pedal at a variety of different cadences gives you so much more flexibility in that respect. So we know we can pedal a higher cadence. That's going to have a little more cardiovascular effect. We can pedal a lower cadence, has a little more muscular effect. And I sound like Dennis, right? So we'll do some Dennis. And so we're going to do 6 weeks. And we got some great feedback on the addition of the strength and the mobility work this time in our challenge. Those components were really popular. So we're working on that again for the next challenge, just to keep us going there. So keep the feedback coming. We're doing some different things this year, and I want to know what's working for you and what's not. And I try to pay attention to all the comments and the feedback on the pages. And yeah, but feel free to reach out as well. So that's the next challenge. You can sign up now. Registration is open, and a whole bunch of you already have. So that's great. It starts on the 19th. And so I will see you again, I think the 15th, somewhere around there. 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, whatever, the Friday before. I'll see you. No athlete briefing next week. So anyways, did a little AMA this morning, and I think this is going to be the fastest athlete briefing ever. So, очень приятно, меня зовут Lori. You didn't know I spoke Russian, do you? Because I see some Cyrillic there. So, anyways, will we incorporate cadence work? Yes. Guy asks, how do I get past my hatred for strength training? Guy, I'm right there with you, which is why I hired a coach last year. And let me tell you, traveling for all these weeks, I missed my strength training. So how do I get past hatred? I think one of the things that helps me is thinking about the result, right? So what is the result I want to achieve? For me, at my age, I don't want to get weaker. I want to feel better in everyday life. I want to be able to open jars and reach things. And one of the big motivators for me is traveling with my bike. And this is going to sound silly, but physically packing up a bike is hard. And unpacking a bike is hard. And traipsing through an airport with a big, huge bike case and a big, huge suitcase and a roller and a backpack on my back is hard. And last year when I went to Mallorca, I joked with one of the coaches that there is no better reason to strength train than to travel with your bike so you can get through the airport. My arms don't get tired now. I was able to lift my roller bag with all my nutrition products, right? The powers, the gels, the bars, the overnight oat packets, everything into the overhead bin without anyone helping me, which was awesome. So yes, no better reason to strength train than the functional aspect of it. And I think for those of us who are aging, that's compelling. For those of you who are a little younger, think of it as your 401k for your body, right? So by about 35, women have hit 35 years old. Women have hit peak bone density, peak muscle mass, peak testosterone. For men, it happens a little later, so around 45. If we want to mitigate those, if we want to stay young forever, basically, how do we do that? Impact. So walking, running, jogging, hiking, jumping around, dancing, all of those things, and resistance training. So think of the results. That's how I work. Now, I still hate it. But I don't hate it when I'm there. And so I hired a strength coach. I just started working with her again on Tuesday because it had been, I don't even remember. I raced Hincapi, so I didn't strength train that week. And then I went to Mallorca, and then I came back and was like, why bother for a week? And then I raced Bentonville. So it's been 6-7 weeks. And we eased back in, doing a lot of mobility work. And interestingly enough, I can still lift the same level of weight, even though everything felt harder. And I also look at my body and I'm like, oh, yeah, you don't quite see the muscle definition you saw when you left in March. So I also decided to work with my strength trainer on Thursday because normally I work with her one day a week. And I was like, I might need a little nudge, a little company to get back in here. And ban yoga pants for women in gym. Let's not make comments on people's bodies or clothing, okay? But it's okay. We can all wear what we want in the gym. I wear a banana leopard skin Speedo and no one says anything. So anyways, so Guy, find some accountability. I think that's one of the things that really helps the fake it till you make it kind of mentality. So what can I do? I can work with a coach or a trainer. I can register for classes online with my friends, right? So find some folks in Team Wilpers who want to do strength classes at the same time and put a note out and say, hey, I'm going to do this class at this time on this day and see who shows up. Find a training partner, right? So whether it's a group or an individual, if the Peloton app doesn't work for you, go to the gym, have stuff at home and do your own program. So there's lots of ways. And sorry, everybody, for the awesome comments from Tiger Morph. Anyways, so have some accountability and think about the results. Those are the two things that keep going. Yeah, strength for cyclists are great. Strength for runners are really good too. And the strength for skiers. Maggie was mentioning the strength for cyclists program. So strength for skiers is really interesting. And a lot of my Bike Fit clients have been taking it because it does a lot of lateral and diagonal movements and things we don't do on the bike. And Guy, I would make one more comment about strength training. I'm pretty jazzed on it because I was pretty broken for the last few years. The things that we do on the bike don't necessarily make us better at doing other things in life. And so when we think about our posture on the bike and we're in this forward flexed position and the front of the body gets very, very short and the back of the body gets elongated and stretched out and weak, and our hip flexors are tight and short, which pulls on the back, and then we end up with low back discomfort and we can't get up out of a chair without using our hands. All of these things. We also do those things in our everyday life, most of us. We drive cars, we work at a computer, and so we're in this position all the time. We need to be in other positions. So doing strength training that not only complements what you do, but is different than what you do in your primary sport is going to be really important. So hopefully that gives you a little motivation. Come on, Guy, we're all going to pressure you to do your strength training. Brent, peanut butter, yay or nay? I'm not a peanut butter girl, unless it's salted, because I like salty. And I'm more of an almond butter girl, but I can't keep either of them in the house, because if I have peanut butter and I have preserves and I have a spoon or two, they're gone in a day or so. So I don't keep them in the house anymore. Same with Nutella. Oh, so sad. Melissa wants to know a strategy for the FTP test. In the files section of the Team Wilpers Facebook group, there is a pacing calculator. I would say that's a good strategy. You can follow the cueing in the various instructors' tests, or I like this better. It's just a little easier for me to see things and know what's coming up. What I would say is, as you're taking your test, definitely do the traditional test, not the ramp test. The ramp test is going to give you a very skewed result. But don't get out of the saddle. There's a couple of instructors who will cue you to get out of the saddle, and I would say don't do that unless you absolutely have to get out of the saddle for some reason. It's really going to skew your heart rate, which is then going to skew your power, because we know as we stand, what's the effect? Heart rate goes up because you're working harder with your whole body, and then your power is going to go down. So I would say you could strategically stand the last 20 seconds maybe if you really want to, but stay seated. That's the traditional way to take this test. We're not trying to achieve the best result, the highest result. We're trying to achieve an accurate result. So, Brian, is chucking wood strength or cardio, right? Coach Brian had a great question, right? How much wood would the woodchuck wood? With whatever, you know. So are we doing strength or cardio? I would say you're doing strength and cardio, right? So you're doing a power phase of strength, which is moving the thing fast. So there's your answer, Brian. We miss Brian. He talks all the time. I never get to talk when I'm with Brian. Okay, maybe I do. Jeff, you still there, Jeff? We can talk about socks. He asks, are no-show socks good for showing off the calf? Should we be wearing these no-show socks, or should Brian be wearing no-show socks? It's funny because we went through a phase. We had, 2-inch socks when I started cycling in the 90s, and they were made by a company called Defeat in North Carolina, and they had all kinds of cool designs, and they matched your kit. I always had cute socks. And then eventually we went to the 1-inch no-show socks, which are really cute. And I remember showing up for a cyclocross race in 2018. I hadn't raced cross in a long time, and I had my no-show socks on, and one of my friends, who is a national champion racer, said, he said, Lori, you look like a triathlete. You need to wear socks. And I was like, oh. And at that time, the 6 and 8-inch socks had become popular, like Ridge Supply, right? The nice, pretty, colorful, rainbowish socks. And I had said, who would want to wear those? Because you get the weirdest tan line. Well, I have the weird tan line now. I always wear high socks. Who knows why? But they're pretty and they're colorful. You can go white and white shoes, or you can go color like me. Do you match your shorts, or do you match your jersey? What do you guys think? Sock height. Even when I train inside, I wear my high socks. One thing I will say about socks and cycling shoes is be consistent. Um, the popular length is 6 to 8 inches, unless you're a runner or a triathlete, and then maybe you're wearing compression socks for training. In running, maybe even in racing, but I think that's kind of silly. Ooh, I didn't say that. But yeah, but I don't wear high socks to run, low socks. High socks also have the advantage of mitigating poison oak. So we have a lot of poison oak here on our trails and next to the trails and next to the road and pretty much everywhere. So more coverage means less poison oak. What else? Debbie is a good one. Debbie Kirkhouse started racing gravel. I was so proud of her last year. She just got a gravel bike, started riding outside, started showing up for group rides, which takes a lot of courage. I'm going on a group ride tomorrow. It takes a lot of courage. I'll tell you about that. But Debbie wants to know about nutrition. Like, what is my go-to dinner and breakfast before a race or a big event? And I'm really picky about food. There's lots of OCD here. I eat the same thing often, on a pattern, very regularly. And I go through phases. For a long time, I was eating Mexican before a race. It seemed to work for me. There are a lot of foods I can't eat that falls into the category of like starchy carbs. Typically now what I do is, and it's not all that different than what I eat on a regular basis, but before a race, I may preload with something like LMNT for 2 or 3 days if I know it's going to be hot and sweaty. So I'll do a morning dose and an evening dose. It's a drink mix that's high in sodium, but other electrolytes as well. For my dinner, I like to think of my nutrition in the 48 hours before an event. If it's just a weekend ride, maybe the night before, I want to make sure I have something starchy because that's the carbohydrate that's going to stay in my body and fuel me. And I probably wouldn't do something I haven't done before. So, you're traveling for a race. You don't necessarily want to go to a type of restaurant you don't usually eat at. Or a lot of runners won't have a salad beforehand because it causes some, GI urgency in the morning. So, yeah, I do a tortelloni, a spinach tortelloni or a mushroom tortelloni that I make with tomatoes and mushrooms and basil and a little bit of olive oil and balsamic. I use balsamic for everything. I discovered balsamic and now it's my go-to. My lunch today is tuna with, this is going to sound weird, corn and avocado and a little bit of quinoa and balsamic. And I like corn. Can't help it. I'm one of those girls, corn. So my go-to, yeah, lots of fluids the day before, LMNT for about 48 hours and a normal, but yeah, I know the corn, don't ask the corn. I don't like making salad at home. Who likes making salad at home? Anybody? But I love eating salad. I love going somewhere. And so in Mallorca, I had a salad before my dinner every night and they had corn with their salad. So I've been doing spinach with corn and beets. And I've gone back to fermented foods, which I couldn't eat for a long time because I had a condition called SIBO. And I'm just trying to reintroduce it because I think fermented foods are good for us. And some tuna usually. I do a lot of tuna. Yeah, and so I had corn and I threw it in my tuna for lunch the other day. And I was like, oh, this is good. We'll do this again. Breakfast. Again, I go through phases. My latest is overnight oats. I found a prepackaged because they make it better than I could, I think, although it's expensive. So I'm going to try to reverse engineer it. But I do an overnight oats with, right now I'm doing pomegranate seeds and blueberries and then a little bit of crunch on top. I like some granola of some sort. And breakfast is usually one of my larger, more dense caloric meals of the day. So I might get 800-900 calories in the morning. And I'll do other fruit as well. And my Brazil nuts, you got to get your selenium, 2 Brazil nuts. Don't eat more than 2 Brazil nuts a day. They're toxic. So, yeah, that's about it. I went through my English muffin avocado toast phase, right? So whole wheat English muffin with avocado crushed up and microgreens, and balsamic, and anything bagel seasoning, and some fruit. And I may go back to that, but I did it every day for about a year and I got sick of it suddenly. So there, overnight oats. Whatever you do, eat. If you got a big event or a big training ride, you need to eat and you need to time it. Some people are very particular. I want my calories to be available. I also don't want AGI distress. And for some people, that's the big issue is things haven't digested. We all know kind of how long it takes us. So make sure you give yourself time. If I'm just doing a training ride, maybe an hour before I go out, I'll eat. If I were doing a run, I would not eat as much before I go out, or I would eat earlier because you're running and it's going to upset your belly. But yeah, if I'm doing a race, I try to eat my meal about 3 hours before, and then I continue to put calories in, whether it's liquid or gels or something else. So yeah, that's about it. Any other good nutrition tips from anybody in the audience? Okay, you post them in there. Brittany asked, is there a benefit to following the 5-day schedule as written, or is it okay to stack classes? And I would say, think about the rhythm of what you're doing, right? So if you would prefer to be a 4-day-a-week rider, you can choose a 4-day option. Should I stack? Maybe and maybe not. It depends on your volume. And it depends what I'm going to stack. I can always stack endurance if I keep the endurance portion low. So no matter what I do, if I want more volume, I can always add in like zone 2 endurance. So think about that. If you are someone who, say, rides outside as well and you want to stack your classes to do longer days, that's okay too. You probably have built up that volume. But whatever we do, we want to be consistent with it. So I don't want to stack one week and not the next week. I want to keep my volume consistent, and I'm going to gradually increase and back off and increase and back off and go through that pattern basically throughout the year. So is there a benefit to riding 5 days a week? Yes, if that's what you always want to do. If you like to stack, you could eliminate a class for one thing. I would say if you're going to do 4 days a week, keep the quality workouts, right? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday are the quality workouts, and then figure out what you want to eliminate or double up. I don't know that I would, in this challenge, double up Saturday and Sunday because that's a lot of volume, and maybe you're up for it, maybe you're not. So figure out which works for you. But I would say the important thing is keep it consistent, right? So if I make a change to the prescribed training, I want to plan for that the next week and the next week and the next week. So consistency is what builds fitness, that and specific training, right? Don't go do a race that you didn't train for, or you'll want to sell all your bikes and pick a new sport. I wrote in my journal that night, why did I choose a sport? Why did I choose a sport to love that doesn't love me back? That's what I felt like after Saturday. It wasn't that bad. My power is very good. And surprisingly enough, and I think this is a result, so this is for you, Guy, a result of the resistance training. My short duration power is higher than it's been in, I can't even remember. As a matter of fact, some of them are my all-time highs on Training Peaks, which I've been on for a long time, but not forever. So yeah, the high-end power is really good, and my ability to ride harder gears at a slower cadence is really good. So when I raced Hincapie in the mud, I was able to pedal at 35, 40 cadence and keep the bike upright and get through the clunky mud. So another reason to do resistance training. I think that's it. See, when only one person is here, you only get half the talk, half the time. But I would say congratulations to everybody on this challenge. I think this was a good one. And yeah, Amy wants to know about balancing the need for increasing volume while maintaining cross training that will support preserving bone density. So things like resistance training and running or hiking or walking. I would say, and for most of my coaching clients, we do this, plug into your calendar the must-haves. And I have one client, for example, that she does a social hike every Sunday. And for her, that's a must-have. Has nothing to do with her cycling training, but that's something she does. And it's good. That's cross-training. And it's social, which is important for her. She also has a date night every week. She just got married recently. She's like, I gotta have this date night. And I'm like, okay, that's non-negotiable. So think about your non-negotiables first, and plug those in and make those your priority. And then put the rest of your training in and make it work, right? And there are some things, like it's hard to say I wanted to do some strength training, but I also want to do a fast group ride the next day when I'm going to feel that fatigue. I have to decide what's my priority there. Is it okay for me to show up for the fast group ride and suffer? Well, maybe I want to change the day I do my strength training. So, yeah. So it's a hard balance. I guess it still comes down to I can't do everything, so I have to prioritize. So what is your priority? And that may change during the year, right? So like Amy, you compete in running at certain times of the year. Getting your high volume runs is going to be super important. And at other times of the year, maybe you bring your run volume down and you can do all the other things. So I think you just have to choose what's important at what time. And again, then be consistent with it. Good. I think that answered your question because I gotta. So I think that's it for this week. So I would say make sure to sign up for the next challenge. It's going to be fun. Everybody loved the climb challenge last year. So we did different benchmarks, but I want you to get accurate training zones. So I would highly encourage you to do your FTP test. Not tomorrow, not Sunday, do it next week or the following week, even better, right? Rest and then test. Repeat after me, rest and test. More is not better. More is more. There, those are my words of wisdom for Friday morning, afternoon now for many of you. Thanks for joining this morning. Thanks for pivoting over here when I couldn't get the live to work. And have a great last weekend of the challenge. We'll see you in a week or two. Bye, everybody.